Welcome to Smart Remarks, where the bloom may be off Obama's rose, but it ain't like the GOP's in full flower. So if you're like me, you might be pretty hacked off about Obama right about now. The bloom is off his rose, in large part because of the whole NSA revelations here. I oppose the expansion of the surveillance state under Bush. I cannot embrace it under Obama. In fact, it occurs to me that one of the reasons he was elected was to rein in this sort of thing. The revelations have just been sort of stunning to me. And as I followed them, it began to occur to me that, why am I a liberal? What is it that makes me a liberal? And the reason that I define myself as a liberal basically boils down to two reasons, or at least these were my two most important things. I was opposed to the war in Iraq and war in general, and I thought that the big banks needed someone to crack down on them. And on that score, Obama is a big O for 2. Yeah, we're getting out of the war in Iraq, that's fine, but now we're going to arm the rebels in Syria, whomever they are. And the big banks have just gotten bigger under Obama. Too big to fail has gotten even more gargantuan. So what have I gotten out of the Obama presidency, really? What has voting for him gotten me? And the more I think about this, the more I begin to think, well, if this keeps up, maybe I'm going to have to explore some sort of alternative. Or maybe not. The bloom may be off the Obama rose, but it's not like the Republican Party offers a credible alternative. If they did, they might get people like me to at least listen, but instead, what we have is a Republican Party that remains enthralled to the religious right, whose most important issue remains abortion. They remain enthralled to the Tea Partiers who are opposed to immigration reform, and I'm sorry, that's at least in part rooted in racial panic. I found this issue on Reddit, and while that's sort of an insider Republican perspective, I think it speaks pretty good to those who are on the outside as well. Who might agree with some aspects of the message but can't swallow the other aspects. Me, I'd be interested in talking about fiscal sustainability, but what do you mean I have to be against abortion and deny global warming to be part of that conversation? No thanks. So clearly the Republican Party is not a viable alternative for people like me. So what is? Or what could be? Could there be some sort of alliance between liberals and anti-war conservatives like Ron Paul or his followers? Could there be some sort of meeting of the mind between Occupy Wall Street and the original impetus behind the Tea Party, which was the bailouts? Is there such a thing as small government liberalism? Not a liberalism that resents government, a liberalism of resentment like conservatives have sort of a conservatism of resentment, but a realization that more government isn't always better government, that sometimes it just means more fragility, that sometimes you just get diminishing returns on your investment and you can't wait around for government to save you, and that sometimes government may make the problem even worse. All of this may sound very libertarian, and maybe it is, but it would be impossible for me to overstate how my personal politics are evolving in the wake of the NSA spying revelations. That's big government. That's big government, the dictionary definition of it. I oppose it. The wars, arming the Syrian rebels. This is big government. I oppose it. So I take the Federal Reserve and quantitative easing. I realize the Fed's not really part of government, but it's all basically the same thing. Here you have these government officials, these agencies, officialdom saying, we know what's best. We're going to do this on behalf of the American people. Well, have the American people been asked? What about Syria, arming the rebels? Do the American people want this? Do the American people want the banks to grow bigger? Liberals like to see government as the manifestation of the will of the people, but I'm not so sure that it is that anymore. It may have been that in the past. A small government liberalism is maybe sort of an alternative to this. What does it mean? It means that I don't assent to government protecting me from terrorists by seizing and maybe monitoring all of my electronic communications. I don't assent to the arming of the rebels in Syria, but it goes beyond this as well. It realizes that there is need and want in communities such as this one, but that we can't always wait for Washington to ride in on the white horse and fix it, because you know what? They ain't got no more money left. So who is going to fix it? Who is going to address it? How about the people who live in this community? How about community-based organizations? How about people like you and me? How about faith-based organizations who run the food pantries, who help out with the housing assistance, that sort of thing? They don't need government to do that. They can do it on their own. They build a stronger community here at home. That's what I would see as small government liberalism, a turning inward or turning away from the Leviathan corporate state. I think liberals have projected their hopes onto Obama just as conservatives projected their hopes onto Bush. In both cases, people were disappointed because they wanted actual change. I know what changes I wanted. I hoped Obama would turn the battleship, but he has not turned it in the direction that I hoped or wanted. So, you still want change? Maybe ultimately you have to be the change instead of standing around and waiting for it.